Hello and welcome to this video about the exam changes. Good news to start with, we're getting the changes early. Well, mostly we are. Probably the most important thing you want to know is how are you going to be assessed? Will exams happen next year? And the answer is almost definitely, but there is also a plan if they don't. So let's begin with the exams. The government's obviously worried that students won't know the whole curriculum that students would normally learn if they'd been in school for 2 years of GCSEs. So on the 7th of February, they're going to let schools know which parts of which exams students won't be tested on. Why aren't they telling us that now? Well, because if you're going to be good at a subject, you really need to know as much as possible. So what the government is hoping is that everybody will study in depth all the way through to February, and then revision will start and the government will let you know which bits will be examined and which bits won't. So the good news is you won't be tested on everything. The exams where we know already that the government will introduce optional content, in other words, you'll be able to choose which bit of the exam to do, are English literature, history, ancient history, and geography. And if last year was anything to go by, I'm sure that most students will go, hooray! No poetry, which is a shame because I think poetry is awesome. But then again, I don't annotate it to death like most schools do. In another stroke of brilliance, the government's also changed when the exams will happen. So they'll happen during the normal exam window in May and June, but lots of subjects have more than one paper. So just in case there is a new outbreak of COVID during exam season, the exam boards are going to set each paper 10 days apart, which will mean if you do one paper and miss the next, your exam grade will still be calculated on one of the papers that you've done. And no student through COVID would miss all their exam papers. That's a fantastic development. And there is also a plan B if exams get cancelled. I really don't think that's likely, but it's wonderful that there's a plan B, and it's this. Teachers need to collect teacher-assessed grades for work that you have done under exam conditions, either in an exam hall or in the classroom. And teachers have to tell you that this particular exam practice will be used to calculate your grades if there's no exam. I don't know if teachers know that yet. Anyway, that's the plan. So your mocks are going to be super important. Now, don't get stressed about them because I'm really confident that exams will happen. But your mock grade is going to be money in the bank. No, let me change that. Your mock mark, not your grade, will be money in the bank, because this leads me to the next bit of really good news. So in 2019, the last year that we had normal exams, 22% of students got a grade 7 or above. Last year, 30% of students got a grade 7 or above. And so the government have said, wow, we could just go back to the 2019 levels, but then there'd be a sudden drop in exam results. And so we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to move halfway. So let's call it 26% will get a grade 7 or above. Well, what does that mean for you? If you do the actual exam, and I think that's what will happen, your grade won't be based on your exam score necessarily. You know, it's not that, oh, I need to get 70% for a grade 7. No, what will happen is your marks will be totaled up, and then all the marks nationally will be ranked, and then the top 26% will get a grade 7, 8 or 9, and so on down through the grades. So you will get a higher grade for the exact same score in the exam than someone else sitting that exam in 2019. So tough luck if you took the exams in 2019, but if you're taking them in 2022, you're going to be able to get a much higher grade through knowing less. I know. What kind of a world do we live in? And so the same will be true if your school has to use teacher assessed grades based on your mock performance or other exam conditions work that you've done in class, if exams should be cancelled. The mark that you get in those might not be as high as a student in 2019 who's studied the whole course, but your grade will be higher because everybody in the country is likely to get lower marks than someone who had studied the whole 2-year course. You're probably wondering, what happens if I'm a student who's just on the borderline? You know, am I a 4 or am I a 5? And I'm like right on that 1% borderline. What's the government advice? Give the higher grade. What's not to love? So this is Ofqual and the government bending over backwards to be fair to students and fair to schools, which should reduce the stress that you feel you're under. If you are a Year 10 student, you're still going to be protected. So although you might score less on the exam than students in the past, the government is still going to guarantee a certain percentage getting grade 7 and above, and a certain percentage getting grade 5 and above, and grade 4 and above, and so on. So the exams will still be easier for you in Year 10 taking exams in 2023 than for students taking it in 2019. And what happens if you're a student who's retaking English or Maths in November? Well, the grade boundaries will be the same as in the 2021 exams. In other words, you're going to get higher grades. And for the 25% of you who I know have studied really hard during all the COVID lockdowns, your chance of getting a top grade are amazing. Good luck. See you soon on my channel.